So it is funny, Sammy, is that I forget who the person was. Came out on Twitter. It was like, oh, look at you. You were the guy who hyped up Velus Jones Jr. Look at you. Where are you at now? I'm right here. I was very hopeful that Velus Jones Jr. was going to be our answer to Deebo Samuel. And you got to understand where Ryan Poles was coming from, but it's sometimes, these are inexact sciences, and you're wrong. And it's clearly wrong. Okay. Velus Jones Jr. did not work out for the Chicago Bears. And that's fine. I will sit here and I will own it. The only problem I have is with people who were screaming at the top of their lungs that, the Bears made a huge mistake drafting Kyler Gordon instead of George Pickens. Where are those people today? George Pickens was flipped to the Dallas Cowboys, and Mike Tomlin, who at one point in his life had Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown in the same locker room, has decided no, I'm not dealing with George Pickens anymore. George Pickens was a bridge too far. Think of Antonio Brown. George Pickens wore out his welcome much better. Now, obviously, Antonio Brown was a much better player, but at the same time, do not, if you're going to be this person who wants to go back and dig up receipts, you like this guy, okay? Where you are the same people who thought it was a tragic mistake that we drafted Kyler Gordon instead. And yet you guys, you turn around and you run away from that one. If you want to shine the light on me, which is fine, I was absolutely wrong about Velus Jones. Shine the light on yourself. And you know what, Sammy? Let's go ahead and start the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Adam Ray.
It's Hester trying to work it back to the middle. Gets past the first wave, and here he goes. It's Hester inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. And no flag, 92 yards.
The sickest Chicago Bears and fantasy football podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
It is Wednesday night. You know what that means? It is time for Take It to the Rank as we talk about the Chicago Bears and their impending rookie minicamp, which will kick off on Friday and extend through the weekend. An opportunity to take a look at some of the rookies, including our new friend, Ruben Hippolyte, who joined the show on Sunday, on May the 4th. If you did not get an opportunity to go back and check out, or if you've not checked out that interview, I implore you to do it. I told him, I straight up, I'm like, dude, I didn't know much about you. And then I said, I like you. I really enjoy what I've seen so far. Getting an opportunity to talk to him, found out, number one, that he loves Michael Singletary, but he's a big Chewbacca guy. It was May the 4th. I had to ask him, hey, who's your guy? Chewbacca. Also, he loves Ted Lasso. I'm like, oh my God, we're in. And speaking of football, I hate football today. Son of a gun. Over the last two games, in both games against PSG, Arsenal had their opportunities. Clearly had their opportunities. Miss them. Is this what it's like being a Packers fan? Being good, but not good enough to win? We're in it every year. Arsenal is in it every year, and then they don't win it. Is that what it's like being a Pack? I don't know. But here to break it down today is our co-host. I forgot. I left him in the green room. Please welcome Greg Braggs. I left you in the green room just like the Bears leave you on the sidelines of how
yeah. Well, hey, training camp can't get here quick enough, right?
Right.
So yeah, no, I agree with what you were saying though, with just being honest. Sometimes you're gonna get something wrong. That's the name of the game when you're talking sports, and it doesn't have to be an indictment on your entire sports talking resume, whether you're a fan or you're in media. I've always said when it comes to football, too many fans or too many experts, not enough fans. Yeah. And, fan has all of a sudden become like this negative connotation, at least in the social media world. And maybe we live a little too heavy in it, because there was a time where when you'd go to the bar or you'd be hanging out with your friends, and 9 of the 10 people were just diehard meatball fans, and they had very general takes on what everything was. And then there would be the one expert that would be correcting everyone that was like ruining the conversation. Now it's the opposite. Now it's 9 experts and 1 meatball fan, and everyone seems to ostracize the meatball fan. So that's why we still try to hold the line here at the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank.
You know what's funny is when you talk about, I don't want to use the word casual fans, but like the thing that you're describing is that a couple of, it must have been months ago now, is there's a dad at pickup and drop off who is a Steelers fan, and I'm like, hey, you guys have DK Metcalf. He's like, oh, that's cool. Is he good? Yeah, he's pretty good. It's like, oh, that's great. And you forget, like, sometimes, like, this is the way a lot of fans operate. Like, hey, is that guy good? Like, I don't know who DK Metcalf. I love the Pittsburgh Steelers. He knows all the Steelers players. He knows who Mason Rudolph is and all these guys, but could not tell you he's DK Metcalf. He's good. Yeah. You're like, yeah, he's not bad. Yeah. You'll enjoy him. And you kind of miss that sometimes,
and that's okay. And it stretches just as far as like what we do, where you're supposed to be dialed into every little detail. Yeah. And then the Bears draft a guy named Ruben Hippolyte, and credit to you. We said it on our show. We interviewed him as well on CHGO Bears last Friday, and he couldn't be nicer. And on both shows, we're sitting here like, hey, when you were drafted, you were an unknown. How did that feel to go so early in the draft? Were you expecting it? And the confidence that he exudes, like, it's just something that's a gravitational pull as a fan, especially if you're a Bears fan. But I think if you're a fan of the sport itself, you can appreciate a story like that. So I don't think there's anything wrong with admitting, like, hey, we didn't know who this guy was. Now we're getting to know him. The next step is to see how he plays. And that's the process you'd normally take, as we always did growing up. And now it's like you're expected to know all 782 draft prospects, which I'll never fight that fight. Let somebody else be that guy.
Daniel Jeremiah can do that. Right. That's fine.
Daniel Jeremiah, all the guys, all of Matt Waldman, Dane Brugler. There's tons of guys that do an amazing job at this. And so we lean on them. And then when we get to the point where our teams select the players, then we can dial in, because now you have no excuse. Once they're on the team, once they put on the orange and navy, now you got no excuse. You got to figure out who these guys are and find out what they're all about.
And it's funny too, because a lot of times with somebody like Ruben Hippolyte, I will text Daniel and be like, hey, I go, what do we got? Because you guys were too busy cracking jokes about Portillo's to dive into this. You and Charles Davis were trying to make jokes about a Christmas Story or something. Like, what? And like, that's usually what I'll do sometimes. But at the same time, I also have to remember when Adam Shaheen was drafted. I'm like, hey, I go, tell me about Adam Shaheen. Oh yeah, like, great prospect, blah blah blah, athletic, whatever. You're like, why wouldn't they just draft George Kittle, who is good and played at Iowa? Yeah, but this guy. So I always take, like, I always will throw that back at Daniel. And if he was here, I'd tell this story all the time, because we were doing a show that day. And I'm like, dude, you said Adam. He's like, yeah, but he's glowing and all this stuff. And similarly, in that vein about, like, with players like Ruben, is that I will always gravitate to, and if guys are cool and they're like really nice, like, yeah, I'm probably going to be rooting for them harder. And I'll let you know right now. I'm rooting for him, and I might not be very rational about it until we go out there and see it play. And then I will be like, hey, you got to make these plays. You got to make those plays. It was the same thing. It's the same thing with Bayless. I remember, when Bayless was not making plays, you're like, he's got to clean that up. Tyler Scott, a friend of mine, like, hey, the ball against Detroit, you should have made that catch. That kind of stuff. I'm not afraid to say that, but at the same time, still going to be rooting for these players, especially the guys who are super cool and the guys whose vibe you kind of dig. But the only thing that I don't like is that, as you were mentioning too, the experts like, off-ball linebacker when there was this. I'm like, yeah, I know. But again, you guys said the same thing about, how do we not take George Pickens? We draft a guy who's going to end up being a nickel corner.
Right.
Like, what are they? Hey, it works out pretty well. And sometimes you have to let the professionals go out there and do this. So there are two things.
And that's the other side of the coin, right? Like,
yeah.
And if you're I've always told people, like, keep that same energy, right? We, especially on Bears Twitter, if you're lucky enough to be on there every day.
If you haven't been kicked off by you already.
Hello.
Hello.
That's a story for another day. That's a long one.
That's a story for today.
We could do a whole podcast on the headaches that a Twitter community can give me. But the other side of the coin, right, is when you're wrong, about something like that, you want to be the expert, you want to play in that sandbox, then at some point you got to own up to the things that you got wrong. I've always been, it's always kind of funny to me to watch traditional media guys kind of walk the ledge because they're afraid they're going to say something wrong. I'm happy to just blurt out what I'm feeling. If it ends up being wrong, then I'll be the first one to admit it. But there's sometimes fans have a propensity to like bring hellfire and brimstone onto somebody that has a differentiating opinion, but then do not have that same energy for the acknowledgement that they were wrong towards that person. When everything comes around. So that's the game. I get it. That's the fun in sports talk, but those are some of the psychosis behind it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember last year in fantasy. I would have to go back and dig deep to find, not dig deep, but like I know that it happened. And there were guys that I was very excited about last year in fantasy wise that didn't pay off. But I was also very, very much on board with Saquon Barkley when not a lot of people were. There was somebody else too. Oh, Bucky Irving. And again, Rashad White, is he still alive? Like, yeah, but Bucky Irving's going to end up being a better player. Like, very rarely, and I don't say that nobody does it, but like most people will forget that. Be like, remember in 2018 when you said the 49ers were going to win 3 games? Like, yeah, you're going all the way back there. That's how far back you have to go to find my most glaring misstep. But it's fine.
Your season predictions for the Bears. They're
12-5. Yeah, that's another good. They can go to that. So the Bears are going to win 12 games.
They got the graphic. Every year they'll have the graphic where you got them all these crazy wins on there. And one day we're gonna hit. We're gonna keep spinning that wheel. And we're gonna hit. And you're right. Like you bring up Bucky Irving and Kyle Monangai, right? People are already doing the thing where they're like, "Oh, can we calm down, pump the brakes on hyping this kid up? He's a 7th."
Well, that's exactly that. That was actually one of the first things I wanted to talk to you about. Is Kyle Monangai? It's like I don't think it's wrong to go out there and hype this guy up. I don't care where he was drafted. I think you can feel justified in hyping him up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you point to the experts, the quote unquote experts who so many people do to justify their arguments, there was a lot of guys that had a 4th round grade on them, some even higher than that, like a 4th, 5th round grade. I think maybe there was a couple people that had a 3rd round grade on this guy. This running back class was certainly very unique. I think he ended up being the 14th running back taken off the board. But it's, like I said, a unique running back class in the way the draft fell and the way the running backs continue to kind of get pushed down round by round. Yeah, that's kind of the story of Kyle Monangai, where Ruben Hippolyte was this complete opposite, where, everybody's like, wow, you bring this guy from the 4th round. He could have been a 7th rounder undrafted based off of the draft grade. Who cares? Throw those things out. That's not how it goes on draft day for these teams. We look at it from a different lens. The team looks at it from theirs. And so Kyle Monangai ends up getting pushed down the chart. The Bears take him in the 7th round, but that doesn't mean he's like Travis Bell, all due respect, a guy out of Kennesaw State, right?
Josh Ferguson.
Right. Exactly. Like that's your typical run of the mill, 7th round picks. But, when you look at this running back class, it is a little different. And, when you talk to Ruben Hippolyte, we asked him, who's the toughest guy you ever had to face? And guess who he said? Kyle Monangai. And he's like, I had to go up against this guy for 4 years. And the way he said it, he sounded tired. So I think that's kind of how you figure out just what he's all about. When you hear the people that have played across the line from him and they speak that highly of him, you can watch the highlight reel all day. It's a thing of beauty. You see the power, the low center of gravity, the heart, hustle, and muscle and quick twitch and all that. But, you know, when you hear somebody that played across the line at linebacker and like, this dude was a load to bring down, that's when you're like, okay, that will probably translate here in the NFL.
It was funny because similarly, one of the games I went back and watched because we had Ruben, because we had him on the show. And I'm like, well, I'm going to go watch the Rutgers Maryland game and see what happened. And it was like Kyle ended up running for like, I don't think he quite got to the century mark, but let's say he had 90 plus yards. He had a pair of touchdowns. And I brought up that game to Ruben. He's like, yeah. He's like, that's the one in 4 years where they actually beat us and blah, you know, and all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, he's a tough guy. He's a tough runner. Doesn't really, he told us like he didn't really know him personally. He's like, I know who he is. Like, I would recognize him. Like, we'll see him in a couple of days. But like, yeah, there's some familiarity there and guys who are in the locker room. And I kind of equate it to, you know, and again, if you look at the NFL draft similar to a fantasy draft, the reason why people, let's say, for instance, wait on a quarterback. Now, the quarterback position in fantasy football is probably the most important one. You got to have a good one. But after you get out of the first couple of rounds, you can wait on a quarterback. You're like, okay, well, if I missed out on Josh Allen, I know that if I wait a number of rounds, I can try to fill it in with Jordan Love or Matthew Stafford or somebody like that. And in this year's NFL draft, you're like, we had such a deep class of running backs. Why did we draft one in the 7th round? You're like, because you just said why. It was a deep class of running backs to not waste, but like to use a 4th round pick on a guy that you can get in the 7th because the depth was there. There really was no need to go out there and draft him. I think of somebody like the guy who ended up in Dallas, Jordan Blue. He was a very good running back who I'm really, you know, I honestly, like, if you want a fantasy tip right now, I think Jordan Blue might end up being the RB1 for the Dallas Cowboys. And again, I go heavily on the rookie running backs, and it's something I'm going to do. But the Bears didn't, I think he went in the 4th round. Forgive me if I don't have this exact, but like he went like, again, like he fell because like, well, we can wait. If we miss out on this guy, we miss out on Scadaboo. That's fine because Jordan Blue will be there. And if we miss out on Jordan Blue, Kyle Monungai is going to eventually be there. And you saw that with a lot of these running backs. That's why Kyle Monungai fell to the 7th round. It wasn't because he's not good. It's because there were so many guys. There wasn't the scarcity that there is with a lot of positions like there were for a linebacker.
Right. And then totally point taken. And now to go back to what we were talking about to start the show, maybe it's just a slip up, but you're saying Jordan Blue, and I know you meant Jaden Blue.
Jaden Blue, excuse me.
And that's okay. But that's okay. You're allowed to make a mistake, Adam. Yesterday, I'm on a show, and I get Joe Tooney and Grady Jarrett's age mixed up, and they're like, how can you say
you're some expert?
Yeah, how can you say he's 34? He's 32, you idiot. And I'm like, yes, I'm an idiot. I know. I'm going to make mistakes. It happens. But to your point, there are going to be running backs. Like, okay, maybe Ashton Genty is a class above. Yeah. And maybe it's a stretch to try to say anybody's going to have a similar career to Ashton Genty. Not impossible. No. Not impossible. I mean, I pointed to this before the draft. When you looked at the year Christian McCaffrey came out, I believe it was the 2017 or the 2019 draft.
It was Trubisky's year.
Yeah, 2017 then. You had Christian McCaffrey go 7th. You had Leonard Fournette, I believe, go 3rd. But then in the 3rd round, you had Alvin Kamara go later. You know, you had some different running backs that came off the board, even for Green Bay and Minnesota, I believe, had a couple good running backs. You know, and so that's kind of the point is, okay, Omarion Hampton gets drafted. What are the odds that one of these running backs in the day 3 are going to have a similar or better career, right? And when you talk about Bucky Irving, that's a prime example. These guys all have ability. It's also about where they go and the fit they have. So to me, I think there is a very good opportunity that you're going to have a few running backs here in day 3 that pop in a way that, you know, some of the guys in the 1st and 2nd round or day 1 and day 2 that play well and live up to the same kind of standards. So that's kind of the value game you play. There's some gambling going on there, you know, but at the same time, when you hit big.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because Tyrone Tracy last season was a 5th round pick. The Giants passed on an opportunity to draft Ashton Genty because maybe part of it was because they have Tyrone Tracy. I will never know. Abdul Carter is a pretty difficult person to pass over. But at the same time, like even when I brought it up, like what about Ashton Genty? People like, Tyrone Tracy. Like that was a 5th round draft pick. And it's just funny because like a lot of the guys, like RJ Harvey, what round did he go in? But like there's another guy, like not thought of as he's not thought of in the same realm of Ashton Genty, but you know what? One of the first, I'm doing a dynasty draft right now. So it's like, I'm seeing where these guys are being slotted and who likes who and who's going where. So it's interesting to see all this stuff fall out. The one thing that I want to push back on is because people were comparing him favorably to Isaiah Pacheco. And when the Bears fans are like, Isaiah Pacheco is not really that good. I'm like, okay, please stop. Please stop saying stuff like that. Like, stop saying, like, Isaiah Pacheco is a good player. He hadn't even rushed for he's not asked to rush for 1,000 yards. He's asked there to fulfill a very specific role for the Kansas City Chiefs. He does it with a plump. I think if he ends up like Isaiah Pacheco, we'll be okay.
Yeah, that would be more than okay for sure. And I think he's going to have every opportunity because, you know, how much has Roschon Johnson showed the last couple of years? And he was a 4th round pick, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, give him every opportunity this year with a healthy play caller and a healthier offensive line and a vision that seems to make a lot of sense. But at the same time, he hasn't really given himself any leniency of saying, this is your job, right? Yeah. He's going to have to earn it. And I don't know if you saw through the Bears Twitter sphere over the last week, but Nick Moriano, he shared it. We were talking about it on our show as well, where the depth chart, if you go on the Bears website, is completely empty. So, you know, hey, may the best man win at any spot. It doesn't matter if you're Roschon, you've been here a couple years, or if you're, you know, Kyle Monangai and you just showed up. I think that's going to be one of those training camp battles to watch. I mean, you still have Ian Wheeler, but he's coming off of an injury. You know, he did do well. You know, he was featured on Hard Knocks and he had some nice moments at training camp and preseason, but I'm not putting a cap on him either. I think he's a really good guy and, you know, an intriguing player, but maybe somebody that's still hoping to make practice squad or that 3rd running back spot. But yeah, Roschon Johnson, hey, you got yourself a competition right now with Kyle Monangai. And if Kyle starts making plays, this could be a running back by committee. Because if you looked at the way Ben Johnson ran his guys in Detroit, whether that was Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery or DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams, they split the duties almost 50-50. So they're looking for somebody that's going to offset the other and split those. So, you know, who's going to be the one to take that job? It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's why I'm firing in on Kyle Monangai and why I'm going out there and purchasing all the Kyle Monangai trading cards I can find. And the best place to get trading cards is at Windy City Sports Cards, where we specialize in buying and selling all things related to Chicago sports. Whether you are a diehard fan of the Bears, Bulls, Cubs, White Sox, Blackhawks, Sky, or Fire, we have got you covered with an extensive selection of sports memorabilia and collectibles. And in addition to the Chicago-focused items, if you're a fan of Shedeur Sanders, Travis Scott, even RJ Harvey, go to Windy City Sports Cards, dial in right now. It's like playing the stock market. You want to sit here, you want to pop off, put your money where your mouth is, go get some RJ Harvey cards right now. Or Jaden Blue. Go out there and purchase those sports cards. I'm hoping that Jaden Blue falls to me with my next pick in this dynasty draft that I'm doing. It's so funny. We do a slow clock on the dynasty draft, and I swear to God, like the clock will be 4 hours on somebody, and then I'll be like 13 picks away, and then next thing I know, I'm like, oh, you've already auto-picked somebody. You're like, okay, great. It's really annoying. But it's also the same. Last time we did this draft last year, they did it during this show. I'm like, oh, we're going to do this draft during the show. And I missed that. It was funny. I missed out on Roschon Johnson. And I was like, hey, do you mind, like the guy who was behind me who ended up with Roschon Johnson, like, hey, you know what? I was doing my show and I missed it. Do you mind just swapping me pick? I ended up with Josh Downs. And you got Roschon Johnson. I'm like, do you mind just swapping me? And the guy goes, oh, yeah, like, I'm not giving up Roschon Johnson. That would be, you got it. You owe me next year's first round pick. And you know, I'm like, oh, shut up. And his name was Brett Coleman. I think he's a fantasy person. I think he's in the world. What is it? Brett Coleman. I'm shaming him right now. He's like, oh my God, I'm calling him out. Yeah. He works for the Chargers, I think. Brett Coleman. No, you owe me 18 first round. Like, okay, whatever, sir. Do whatever. Go to PF Chang's. Don't worry about me. You know, because of that, now I hope the Chargers don't get to draft or don't get to trade for Cole Kmet. That was the second thing I wanted to bring up too. Is like, I don't know. Now that George Pickens has been traded, everybody's looking at like who could be traded now and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think? I still believe that Cole Kmet's going to be a part of this Bears team during the fall. Has there been anything that has made you change your mind on that, or are you simpatico with me on Cole Kmet?
No, I mean, beyond the obvious internal bias I have for Cole Kmet as a teammate at CHGO Bears, beyond that, but I will preface it because I already know what some will say. Beyond that preface, I see no reason for the Bears to trade Cole Kmet right now. Why? You've got him on a good contract.
Yeah.
Colston Loveland still has to develop. If you trade Cole Kmet, now you're putting a lot of pressure on a rookie to get up to speed very quickly. Let's have a healthy environment for guys to play and get the most out of guys and for guys to develop. So if you trade Cole Kmet, you're putting him in a very unhealthy environment where you're putting a lot of pressure. It takes tight ends a couple years to get going. Now, a couple years down the road, when Cole Kmet's contract starts to run out, are we going to have a conversation? Yeah, we are. I mean, that's just a reality of the game and the business, you know, but we're not there yet. And, you know, I know fans like to look 3 or 4 steps ahead, but I don't see any reason that they would trade him this offseason. Obviously, there is a price for everything in life. And if you got some kind of insane offer your way, and, you know, for a guy like that, you know, it would take probably a pretty insane offer because his contract is so favorable, team friendly. I think he's like the 13th or 14th highest paid tight end in the league. And so that's the credit to Ryan Poles. And by getting some of these contracts done earlier, he's been able to have value with some of the homegrown talent, whether it be Jalen Johnson or, you know, TJ Edwards got an extension this year, you know. So I don't see any scenario. Why? You've got 2 good tight ends. Ben Johnson likes to play 12 formation there. So I don't see any reason why you would get rid of Cole Kmet right now.
Yeah, I would not either. And by the way, Brett Coleman is with Underdog Fantasy, which has, he was with the Chargers, but Underdog Fantasy, one of the big guys at Underdog is Hayden Winks, and his dad Scott is a huge fan of this show. So, you know, Scott's going to say something to Hayden, and Hayden's going to say something to Brett, and now I'm going to get a phone call from somebody. It's going to be like, oh, why are you calling out our guy for making a dumb dynasty offer? I'm like, listen, I told him to his face, or to his Twitter DM, like, dude, don't be ridiculous. Roschon's not that good. No disrespect. It's a dynasty thing.
And now
I'm with you.
Yep. Sorry. No, I was just gonna say now I'm gonna get crap because you didn't say 12 personnel. You idiot.
Yeah. You don't know.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Why do we take this guy seriously? He didn't say the correct terminology.
Now that would be a fair question. Why do we take me seriously?
That's the thing too. That's the one thing that I hate about like fans being like, hey, what's 12 personnel? They're like starting to yell it out. I was with Steve Smith one time and he was grilling me on it. And he allowed me. It's like, oh, 12. He starts running through the whole thing. I'm like, that's 2 running backs. That's this. And he's like, okay. But like you hear just like a cat, like it becomes like so part of the vernacular. Like there's a mom in the line who helps me. I help her do her fantasy lineup, and she's like, oh, she does this thing. She's a nurse. So she does, she's a brilliant person, but she'd started throwing around 12 personnel. Do they run 12 personnel? I'm like, Carla, no, stop saying this. That's my job. You don't like when people start coming in and using medical terminology around you. You cannot come in here and start throwing around 12 personnel.
Do you know how many times Shane Marsaw has had to explain to me this what is 0 tech, a 1 tech, a 2 tech, a 3 tech, a 5 tech? Like he's had to explain it to me 48 times, and I still don't get it right. Like it doesn't matter how many times he explains it to my caveman brain. I can't figure it out. But that's the job. That's the job. We got to figure it out.
Yeah, Carla's all like, does he play the Z? I'm like, damn it, stop. Stop. Set your own lineup then. Don't listen to me. But yeah, I'm with you. And and it's funny too, because we talked about this before the draft, where we said that just because the Bears signed a couple of players doesn't mean that you're done. Like, hey, we signed Grady Jarrett. We don't need to draft a defensive lineman. We don't need to do this. And it's like, no, actually you still do. We need to get younger at positions. We need as much fortification as possible. It's a 17-game season. Who knows how soon it'll be before we go to 18 games, which is inevitable. You need a healthy roster and guys to rotate and weather the storm. And last year, and I know it's a different offense now, but like we had 3 different guys who were playing tight end. We had Cole Kmet, Mercedes Lewis, and the other guy. I was going to say it's not Everett Engler, but Gerald Everett. So it's like, we wanted to run a number of players out there. And I know it's frustrating for fantasy people who are like, they would love it if it was back in the days where it was like Justin Fields and DJ Moore, and DJ Moore's getting 200 targets. It's like, no, it's going to get spread out. And there's going to be times, and Colson Loveland's going to make plays. And then at some point, it's going to be Roma Dunze, or it might be Roshan Johnson, and might be Kyle Monangai. There's going to be a lot of different guys, and it beats you in a lot of different ways. And it's frustrating, but like as a fan of the team, that's exactly what you want. You want as many options, and you want so many guys that you can't guard you can't just be like, well, as long as we shut this player down, we're good, because there's a number of people who can crop up. And I think that's the situation that the Bears should be in. And I don't know why everybody's so hot to be like, I don't know if we want to spend $11 million. I saw this. Somebody's like, I don't know if you want to spend $11 million. Actually, I don't think it was a Bears fan. I think it was somebody writing for Fox or something. It's like, I don't know if the Bears want to spend $11 million on a tight end 2. And I'm like, who says that Cole Kmet's the tight end 2? Like, I still think he's the number 1 guy.
Well, I mean, that's the point. I mean, football isn't played on paper, right? And I'm excited for Colston Loveland. We don't have to pit these guys against each other. They're going to play together. But at the same time, depending on how Ben Johnson, hopefully he's a lot smarter than Shane Waldron was in terms of usage. Because if you look at Gerald Everett, you bring up Gerald Everett earlier, he outsnapped Cole Kmet by a wide margin week 1. So if you're a fantasy guy, you're buying stock in Gerald Everett. Even though he didn't have a productive day, you're like, well, wait a minute. I bet you there was a ton of people that went to the waiver wire and picked up Gerald Everett. Well,
oh God, yeah.
Other way, it goes the other way the next week, and for the rest of the season, at some point, Gerald Everett's showing up on the milk carton. It's like, where did he go? And if you'd watched Gerald Everett at training camp, he was one of their playmakers. He was a guy that was out there running routes, making catches, some dynamic catches at times. You're like, wow, they really got something working here. But then when the bullets start flying, you can put it all on paper. You can do it through practice. But when the bullets start flying, you got to go with the guys that you can trust. And so right now, Colston Loveland, hey, maybe he'll pick it up right away. Brock Bowers, how many yards did he have last year? Like 1,200 or something. And not saying it's impossible for a guy like Colston Loveland to pick it up. And he's certainly fast. He's going to create mismatches. And you got Ben Johnson, who's going to understand how to utilize his weapons the right way. But at the same time, there is going to be a learning curve, and an allowance for that learning curve is what we need to have as fans. In the meantime, you got this steady veteran who's so hungry to win. I cannot emphasize to you how hungry these vets like Cole Kmet and Jalen Johnson, who have been through the thick of it for 6 years now and are tired of losing and started out the 2025 year kicking Green Bay in their mouth. Yeah. And now get into this offseason like it's time to go to work. That's what they're saying. That's what they said at the podium here a few weeks ago. So bring on Colston Loveland, bring on Kyle Monangai, bring on Luther Burden, and let's get to the regular season and let's get to these guys working hard this summer until we get there.
Yeah. Why would we try to get rid of people? Or even like, I saw that again, this is I don't know if this is the meatball thing, but like Justin Tucker gets released and people are like, hey, I'm like, no, not even for the off the field stuff, but also for the, he's not as good as he once was type of thing. Don't make moves to make moves. Don't trade a player like, oh, we're good. We got Colston Loveland. Colston Loveland's still battling an injury too. We don't know what his participation is going to be like this weekend. So let's wait and see how this plays out. There's no need to rush out there and start using this, start trading people away for no reason. But what I would like to do right now is take a couple of questions from the crowd. If we got it, I hope we don't trade DJ either. I don't know who stated that, but I hope not. Stu Dog 81. Thank you for, you know what? I'm so sorry. Thank you for bringing this up, Stu. I forgot the idiocy of that as well. You know what? Actually, that's kind of the nice thing about George Pickens going to the Cowboys is all the jersey swaps that showed him in DJ Moore in a Cowboys uniform. You can throw those away because I would doubt that's going to be the case. We're not trading DJ Moore either. Why would we trade DJ Moore? We signed him to like one of the friendliest deals. Like we took care of him. I felt like in a way they anticipated last year that he at some point could become disgruntled. It's almost like they knew that Waldron sucked. There were things about how the Bears operate, like not drafting Jalen Carter. You're like, yeah, like our coach doesn't know how to handle people like this. We're not going to take them. So, and then they're like, we know that Shane Waldron sort of sucks and we're kind of tanking for Ben Johnson. So, hey, DJ Moore, we'll pay you a bunch of money. So you really have nothing to get upset about. Here we go. He's on a great deal now. It's very team friendly. There's no reason to go out there and trade DJ Moore.
No, not any bit at all whatsoever. For the exact same reasons we all just stated for the whole Cole Kmet thing. Let Luther Burden develop in a healthy environment. Don't ask him to be your number 2 wide receiver behind Rome Odunze, who's in his second year as the number 1 wide receiver. That makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Hey, can you I know Stu Dog has another one. Bring in this other wait, hold on. No.
You did
bring in this Cliff. Wait, hold on. I want this Cliff Nash. Cliff Nash at 6:29 Eastern. Here, can I highlight it? All right. Cliff Nash comes in. He goes, Arsenal lose in Champions League tonight, but another good Bears pod to cheer me up. I'm not cheered up, Cliff. I'm super bummed out about this. I have now Arsenal has now risen in the ranks of like teams that really affect my mood more so than like the Lakers, more so Kings. I was still kind of disappointed about, but Arsenal's moved up to be like, I'm sort of pissed about this. Popping off to my friend because he was talking about the goalie for PSG. And I'm like, that guy sucks. He's just tall. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm just mad. That kind of thing. So I'm glad, Cliff. I'm glad that we can cheer you up a little bit. We'll have something to look the Bears. Like we have something to look forward to. How about Stu Dogs?
Don't fret because the Cubs are on a 2-game losing streak and I'm searching for the will to live right now.
I know. I understand. You know what? I was talking about that with somebody too, because I'm on a text chain and one of my friends, who are the Cubs playing right now? The Giants. Yeah. And so my friend was like, hey, Mike and Adam, like we're coming for you. And they're like, no, remember Rank's an Angels fan. Like, oh yeah, that's right. And it's like, yeah, I thought about this the other day. Is like, I did ruin the bloodline for the fan. Like everybody was a Cubs fan. Like I was the one that made that divert. because my kids root for the Angels, and I'm like, I really did them a disservice. I really ruined their lives. I could have let them be Cubs. Like, yeah, we all could have been Cubs fans. But I think my dad was saving me back in the day because the Angels were good in the 80s. So he was trying to help me out, but it didn't work out. But let's go back. I'm sorry, Sammy. I'm all over the place now. Stu Dog asked us about, Hendrickson. This is one that we were talking about on CHGO. And I went in. I remember this day where everybody was talking about it. I'm like, the Bengals aren't trading him. I go, they're just posturing. Like they're doing all these moves. They're going to sign him. I still feel that way, but I would take him if he was available. I just don't think he's available.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a hefty price tag. I'm not going to say he's not available because, like, what's going to happen when we get to training camp? Is there going to be a holdout? How's that all going to look? So let's watch it play out. We saw how the whole Matthew Judon thing went down. Obviously, it's not an exact comparison, but at the same time, let's see how it plays out. And if you recall, Ryan Poles in Hard Knocks was trying to trade for Matthew Judon right before the season. He traded for Montez Sweat right in the middle of the year. So he's done a few different things to try to add to that offensive or defensive line. And, just like last year, he's trying to win now. The quarterback's only in his second year. The play caller and head coach is a first time doing those things. You got a bunch of rookies in here that are playing some important roles. Doesn't matter. This team, somebody said it earlier in the chat, this team's going to have high expectations no matter what. And so if you can bring in a guy that's led the league in sacks, the last 2 years? Yeah. Then you do that. So I won't take it off the board because the Bears would be a prime target. And until the Bengals figure that out after paying their wide receivers, then, hey, you keep monitoring the situation, but you can be patient with it too.
Yeah, honestly, it's one of those deals where if the Bengals got off to a really poor start and the Bears were out there 5-1 and the Bengals were struggling and being like, okay, we're going nowhere, then you could possibly see a deal like that happen. But the Bengals are, as much as we are, probably more so than we are, much more into a win now type of situation because they've got Joe Burrow. They've already proven it. They've already won the AFC with Joe Burrow. So now they're in a position where every season they feel like they can go to the Super Bowl, and they should. As long as Joe Burrow is healthy and ready to go, the Bengals should consider themselves a team that can go to the Super Bowl. Kansas City, Baltimore, Buffalo, the Bengals. I'm sure I'm missing somebody in the AFC, and forgive me if I didn't say the Chiefs. But, and the Chargers are getting close to that too, where you're like, hey, like we've got a legitimate chance. We're not going to be trading away these players who can help us go out there and win this. So I do feel like
Sammy in the private chat saying the Titans. You forgot to mention the Titans.
Jeez, stop it, Sammy. Don't do this. This is where you lose me, Sammy. There's another good one. I think it was Lucas who just asked. Do you guys think we make a move at running back? Sorry if you addressed this earlier. I just got back from work. Listen, you're fine. Don't worry about asking a question. The only one who's going to worry is Hayden Wink's dad, Scott. He listens to the show as a podcast. He doesn't watch the YouTube, which is fine. Do however you consume this media is great with us. Do we think that we make a move at the running back position? There's a number of guys out there. J.K. Dobbins is available. Nick Chubb's famously. I don't know that we're there yet. I think that they want to kind of see what they got. And I think this is where the fire comes from with Bears fans about like, why are you already assuming that Kyle Monangai is going to be this person? But at the same time, everybody who's available always comes at like an injury risk. Like Nick Chubb might not ever be the running back that he once was. And it's unfortunate. And you hate to see these things with injuries because, listen, we can look at our own history, guys like Johnny Knox and players like that. You're like, yeah, injuries are brutal and it really does take away from players. And J.K. Dobbins had a great start of last year. And then you're like, that's still, he battles injuries as well. There's not somebody that I look at where you're like, we need to bring this person in. Jamal Williams is the most interesting to me because of his history with Ben Johnson and because he's a great vibes guy. But for me, I don't think that we necessarily need to run out there and make a move.
Well, what are you doing with Roshan Johnson then? I mean,
Yeah.
if that's the case, then he's on his way out, and maybe he is. But while he's not a Ben Johnson guy, he is a Ryan Poles guy. And only 2 years into his career, I don't think they're ready to throw in the towel, especially when I've said it before. But if you're talking about Braxton Jones or you're talking about, whoever you want to talk about, give them an opportunity to see how they look in a healthy environment with a good head coach, good play caller, and good offensive line. Because I don't think anybody's really been afforded that the last couple of years. And so I think Roshan Johnson, it'd be unfair to not let him have that same say. At the same time, if they were to make a move like that, then now that room's getting pretty crowded, and so if you do bring in a Jamal Williams, that's it for Roshan Johnson. It's a numbers game. It's not even anything personal. So I don't, Kyle Monunga in the 7th round, I don't know if they're ready to, just because he's a 7th round pick, ready to throw that away too early. So I don't know, unless it was really, I don't know. My instinct says they don't need to. And maybe that's crazy. Maybe we are overrating Kyle Monunga. I'll leave that as a possibility, but he is intriguing. I don't see how anybody can watch and look through who he is as a player and not agree with that statement. So I don't think we're getting ahead of ourselves with Kyle Monunga. Let's see what he's got. I think if you bring another running back in here, it's just going to start to crowd that room. They didn't draft Ashton Genty, guys, and if they did, then the whole running back room would be, revamped and have a totally different look. For this year, DeAndre Swift is your guy, and you're looking for, a back that's going to offset him. And then whoever that third guy is, goal line and a backup in case of an injury, because those certainly are going to happen. So, Jamal Williams is the one name that makes sense if they're, if they're not looking to move on or move forward with Roshan Johnson.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And we'll see. I always get the impression that they're not as stoked on Roshan Johnson as some people might want to believe, but we'll see. They'll tell us if they don't bring in anybody, then he's doing all right. And if they do, I think that would be curtains for him. All right. Elliot Haney had Ben plans to have a few fun lineman plays like he did in Detroit. Who do you think could be the guys to catch or pass or run some trick plays? I keep meaning to go back and do this. I'm curious how quickly he started running those lineman plays. Was it year one when he was in there, or did he wait till they got good? Because it's like one of those things where it's like, I love it. And as much as I would love to see Braxton Jones throwing a football, can we make sure we score some touchdowns? Like when the Lions score 70 touchdowns in a season, yeah, it's fine. You're going to have one of your linemen throw a pass. Otherwise, let's button it up a little bit. How do you feel?
Well, Phil was making fun of me about this, Draft Dr. Phil. He was watching one of our CHGO Bears shows last week.
Oh, no.
And I was like, I was getting mad scientist on everyone. I was like, put Colston Loveland and Luther Burden both in the backfield as offset running backs and hand it off to Colston Loveland. And everybody's like, Greg, they're never going to hand it off to Colston Loveland. I'm like, they ran a passing play with Penei Sewell. Like, don't tell me it's never going to happen. And I was like coming up with these plays where, remember in London last year, the one good play that Shane Waldron called was the fake screen left, fake screen right, up the middle to Cole Kmet. Well, you could do that with Colston Loveland and Luther Burden in the backfield, boom, boom, and hit that guy right up the seam for the touchdown. So I'm ready. I'm ready to see what Ben Johnson does. And is he going to go right to the bank with some of these crazy plays? Yeah, because I think that keeps the players engaged. It takes the monotony out of it. I mean, you should want to do the simple. The simple should be exciting, but at the same time, these guys do get up for those plays that you really game plan out. And they said they knew that the Bears secondary, peaks. They knew that the Bears defense peaks a little bit. And when they ran that little stumble Rooski on us in Chicago for the touchdown, that's the kind of thing that I think gets everyone fired up on another level than just executing, your just standard play. So, yeah, I think we will be seeing them sooner than later. I don't think they're going to be waiting a few years.
All right. You might have convinced me right there. I also like the idea too, when you're talking about like how the Lions identified the fact that the Bears defense peaks, and not like peaks as peak performance, but like peaks into the backfield. That's the kind of stuff that I would like to see out of Chicago. Think about losing the first game to Green Bay, and Green Bay had our field goal team scouted to the point of like, we can get pressure in this area to possibly block a kick. We never got that advantage with Matt Eberflus. I don't think we ever got that advantage with Matt Nagy either, where it was like, oh, we've got this team so well scouted that we know that if we run this could end up, this is something that could work for us. That's the kind of stuff that I would love to see. That's actually what I'm most, excited about. That like, hey, like anytime this guy's lined up here, this is the play they're running, or we can attack a guy this way. Finding out ways to exploit our other teams, self-scouting, future scouting, and things like that would be an exciting revelation for the Bears.
Well, what did Ben say? What's his Dr. Seuss line? Make the same things look different and different things look the same. So that's his philosophy. And, that's essentially disguising formations by making things run the same formation. I mean, I know Phil loves this concept. He talks about it all the time, and he hates when coaches don't implement it, where you ran the same formation, but 7 different plays out of that formation. And so that's how you're going to be able to throw guys out, but you have to set the team up in order to do those kind of plays. And so making those same things look different at times, and then different things look the same. I'm excited to see exactly how it looks. It sounds a little confusing, but it makes sense when you get to the core of it. So I'm excited to see it live in person when we get to training camp in the regular season.
It was way back when I was much younger and I was really into Super Tecmo Bowl. I remember like you could set up the playbook, and you always had to. I was always mindful of making sure that the playbook had no shotgun plays, or if I had a shotgun play, I had to have at least 3 of them, because I think you got to pick 8. And my friends would never think of that. So you knew, like, when they're in shotgun, you're like, I know exactly what play this is, and I know exactly what they're going to do. And I think I think Matt Eberflus and his whole thing was the guys of like, yeah, whatever. Where Ben Johnson is like, I'm disguising everything. Like, you can't run like there was one too where it would be like motion. You're like, oh, well, this is a dive up the middle because this is the only play in your playbook where they run motion. And I think like those kind of things are going to be eliminated because, again, having a competent coaching staff is going to make a world of difference in situations like that. Hey, let's go to David Olm's question because this is interesting. Adam, and I'm assuming Greg can answer this too. Where do we stand with Austin Booker? Austin Booker was a player who I was really excited about. Obviously, we moved up to draft him. He was the guy early on, was like showing some stuff. I know that Brian Baldinger was on the CHGO show early in the season being like, yeah, Austin Booker can make some plays. It never really progressed. And I think, again, I'm hopeful that a lot of that stems from the coaching last year. And I hope that Dennis Allen can find a way to make the most out of him. Because I'm still hopeful that Austin Booker is going to be a good player for us.
Yeah. Does he have the weight for the league is the question. He can get pushed out of a play fairly quickly. He's got a high motor. Even when he gets pushed out of a play, he'll backside pursue and find a way to make a play. He'll go 15 yards downfield and chase a running back down. So he's got the speed, but you can't just have speed. You got to have a little bit of power to your game. And does he fit exactly how Dennis Allen's defense as a defensive end, where you want to set the edge and contain, essentially that's essentially what they want out of their edges. And so it's probably not a great sign that they signed Dio Odangbo, who only had 4 sacks last year.
Yeah.
He's a young player at 26 years old, I believe. But to bring in a guy like that, I think, maybe is a little bit of a tell on what they think of Austin Booker so far. But at the same time, he's a young player. He's in his second year, just like with tight ends we were talking about earlier. It takes a minute for those guys to find their footing as it does for defensive ends in this league. So I'll never write a guy completely off, but I'm not going to oversell the hype on Austin Booker. I know there was a lot of Max Crosby comps from Bears fans last summer around this time, just because we can't help ourselves.
That one was not me. That was not me.
Well, anytime anyone ever makes a comp to a player, it's never for the guy that's like right in the middle. It's always like the best. It's always the best player of all time for every comp.
You know what's funny? You're absolutely right, because you see a lot of that. Like, oh, this guy is Stephon Diggs. The player the scout who is the most fair with that is Lance Zierlein. If you ever go through and look at Lance Zierlein's things, and I know this because I used to do Lance's stuff, edit a lot of his stuff back in the day. Like, this came up a couple of years ago, or recently, not a couple of years ago. This came up a couple of months ago, where I was talking about Jason Kelsey coming out of where did they come out of? Cincinnati, and where it was like when he ran in the combine, like, it was noticeable. Like, nobody knew who Jason Kelsey was. But I knew who he was because Lance Zierlein had written a report on him, and you're like, oh, this guy's good, and he ran a super fast, ended up being drafted in the 5th round. So Lance Zierlein's been doing this, but every time he does his comps, and this is the most annoying thing, is that you want to make it presentable to people like, yeah, well, this guy is a lot like Deebo Samuel. Nope, he goes super obscure. He just finds like he'll be like, oh, this reminds me of former Cowboys receiver Alexander Wright. You're like, dude, nobody knows who the bleep that is. Don't try it. Like, and I would go through stuff with him, be like, buddy, nobody remembers Alexander Wright or whatever. Ronaldo Nehemiah, like, nobody remembers this land. Like, and Ronaldo Nehemiah might not be a great example because he was a really good player. But like, he is the guy who does that. But for the most part, you're absolutely correct. Where people are like, yeah, this guy, he's the next Des Bryant. You're like, okay.
All right. Now I have a question from the chat.
Oh, geez.
Personally, I have a personal chat. I'm not in the chat. I have a personal question. We're a week away from the NFL schedule release. So that means next Wednesday, I probably will not be able to join you because.
Are you kidding me?
I probably won't be able to because we're going to be doing a live show around this time when the NFL is releasing the schedule. It's your deal.
Right, well, guess what? I'm getting it early, so we'll end up leaking it on this show.
You're the NFL Network guy, and if you do get a hold of the schedule before that, then let me know, okay? And I'll let our guys.
You know what? I'm gonna let everybody know right now. I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret, and try not to blow me up because I get in trouble for saying this. But I just want to let everybody know we play the Packers at home and on the road this year. That's all I'm saying. I want to let everybody know. You can actually not quote me on that. The Bears will play a home and a road game against the Packers this year.
You scared me. I thought you were really going for it there. I was like, what do you know?
What's he doing?
Yeah, I was like, we might have to edit this part out, but
it's a live show. This is live. I'm live. I'm letting everybody know. You know what? I'm going to do it again. We play the Vikings twice this year.
Wow.
That's right. You can run with that. Breaking news. We play the Vikings twice.
I mean, we also play the Steelers at home. Like, it doesn't have to
now the leaks are just flying.
Yeah.
Really?
So, but regardless, I'm looking forward to the schedule release. And so
why?
I like it. What do you mean why? That's a stupid question. What
you know who we're playing.
No, when we're playing is more important than who we're playing. Well, 100%. The way the schedule lays out, it has everything to do with the determining factor on your success of your season. The Bears have a really tough road schedule this year and then an easier home schedule. And I get we're far away and things certainly change. They don't change that much. They might change for 3 or 4 teams, but you know what the majority of the teams you're going to play are going to look like.
Yeah.
So it does matter from that standpoint. It also matters for fans because this is how we plan our travel of the games we're, spotlighting where, hey, the Bears playing San Francisco.
If we get an international game, okay.
Right. They could play, not Brazil, but Spain. They could play Spain. And The Bears are, there's each team is assigned a few different international markets, and Spain is one of those teams that the Bears are assigned to. So there is certainly a chance. Caleb Williams posted something on Instagram like, hey, let's do another one. I don't know if the Bears would want to do it, but maybe Kevin Warren would. I don't know if George.
Why, that game was awesome.
It was awesome. I would love for them to go to Spain.
I have a you know what? I finally have my passport will be coming in the mail soon.
There you go. So
I can do that. If we go to Spain, I might be able to go.
So my question is like, what do you want? Like, what is like the number one thing you want to see from the schedule here coming out to put you on the spot? Like, yeah, I don't know if there's anything in particular. Is it Packers week 1? I mean, we do play the Eagles on the road. Do you want to start?
Stu Dog was asking this as well. Who do we get week 1? For me, it's a philosophy of like, please don't put us against Green Bay in prime time in week 1. Just that needs to stop. We need to get rid of that. My what I'm interested in is where the Jaden Daniels game comes, because Jaden Daniels against the Eagles for the kickoff makes a lot of sense, but also playing the Bears makes a lot of sense too. So that is kind of like, that is not that I fear those teams, but we have a new coach and it's going to take some time. And I know that somebody right here,
I think you just nailed it. Honestly, I think you just nailed it. I think they're going to play the Washington Commanders on Sunday night.
Sunday night, yeah, 100%.
It was one of the best games of last year. Yeah. It was the moment of last year. How many times have they replayed that play? They still replay the game on NFL. Now, you could do something about this, by the way. Say I'm at the gym and I'll still see this game today being played on NFL Network. Enough already.
Kyle Brandt has to get mad at it. They don't care about me.
Somebody has to do.
Kyle needs to go out there. If Kyle Brandt gets upset about it, then maybe they'll take it off. Yeah, they don't go to me. This was the whole thing too that I was talking about when I had Seth Rollins on. And I was talking to Seth Rollins about when him announcing a pick. Like for you and me, like Tom Grossi gets to go out there and do a pick for the Packers. And Tom Grossi, I don't know if you know him, but he's a friend of mine.
He's great.
He's a great guy. Love Tom Grossi. I'm very happy for him. But because of the fact that nobody famous likes the Packers, it's very easy for Tom Grossi to get bubbled up. Whereas we have to deal with Seth Rollins, Jeff Garlin, Vince Vaughn, Bill Murray. Like there's too many hurdles for the guy from Hot Ones. Like, dude, we don't have a chance. Like if we rooted for the Lions, we'd probably already will have called a pick by now. The Vikings, Jamie Erdahl gets to go out there. Jamie Erdahl calls a pick. She does the thing with the Vikings horn. I think she drove Sam Darnold to the stadium one. Like she gets to do everything because it's the Vikings, and there's nobody outside of Kurt Henning's son, Joe Henning. There's no favorites. Maybe Josh Duhamel.
Right.
But for the Bears, it's so tough for us to fight through all this stuff, and so we need our celebrity backers to go. We need Seth Rollins to call up and be like, "Hey, stop showing this Washington game." So let's get Seth Rollins on the case, and then maybe we can get that taken off the NFL Network.
We need to put in a word because every year when they do the schedule release, they use these celebrity little, people that are in it.
Yeah.
Even Big Cat, I think, was in it last year.
Oh, we got to deal with him too. Yeah. Well, they hate Barstool, so they.
Right. So I think we can get you in the schedule release show. I think,
what is that all about? Yeah, why don't
we can get you in the schedule release taping? There's 100%. Why not? Are you kidding me? You're our ambassador. So we got to put in a word here. This needs to happen.
If not, I might ask the Rams to put me in something and see what happens. Maybe the Rams can steal me.
The Rams the Chargers are the ones that
the Chargers never will now.
But they're elite at their schedule release.
Oh, theirs are amazing.
That's the other reason the schedule release is fun, is this new competition that's gone down on social media of schedule release videos and who are the most creative. Remember was it the Titans? The Titans, Sammy, they had the best one where it was everybody had these intricate, schedule videos.
People like guessing the logos.
Yeah, they took the mini mic and they were like the Boston Bobcats, and it was the Carolina Panthers, and
that was so good. The simplicity of that was really good.
Yeah, it was perfect. So that's the other reason why. So I want to know if you retract your statement to start, because I have just given you like 4 good reasons why schedule release is great.
Yeah, I guess it's I don't know, because the NFL is great at like inventing these things about like, hey, we're doing good, but now I got to do more work. Like they're like, hey, we want to redo your article from the. You're like, all right, I turned that in like months ago. I actually have the note right here. But yeah, okay, schedule release is great, and if we don't have Greg, I'll make Scott Bear come on next week. And come.
I'm sorry. I
That's fine.
I could have
we need 2 people on this show. Like we need 2 people on this show picking the Bears to go 12-5. Let's bring in somebody realistic. I can bring in Carmen. She'll be like 3-11. Wait,
well, are you gonna wait and do it when the schedule comes out?
The schedule comes out. I'm gonna do like whatever. We're starting to we're trying to figure out because we want to go to this. I'll do my schedule thing again. Mm-hmm. Where I pick the schedule for everybody. That's the greatest thing is like people like, don't ever pick the schedules again. I'm over it. And then you're like, we do this on YouTube and we get 1 million views. Like we're obviously going to keep doing this because you keep watching. Well, I picked the Bears to go 12-5, obviously. But what am I doing for the other teams? Do the Commanders fall off? What do they do? There's a lot of things going on. Fine. We have things to do. Wait, hold on. Well, I'm getting one of my players dropped off.
And if they because they don't say what time. You're the one that knows this stuff,
right?
If the time of the release is 7:00, I might be able to make it work. But if it's at 6:00, then I probably can't because I'm
we're probably gonna have to wait and go live. Oh man, I already booked. You know what's funny is I already booked a golf tech lesson. Oh, I might have to change that to a little bit later.
How are you not thinking 10
I wasn't even thinking about it. I was already like planning my golf tech lesson.
NFL season never sleeps, my friend.
Yeah, you know what? I might have to go and reschedule that. This is where my head's at. I'm breaking 80, by the way. And if you follow me on Instagram, by the way, my swing used to suck. Now it's looking passable. So don't give up. Don't give up on that. Before though, I let you go. And we're gonna wrap it up here. I did want to say one thing that just something important. I just wanted to let people know. A lot of times people ask me, they're like, "Hey, how did you get your start? What did you do?" And I'm like, I worked at a newspaper. I worked for the Orange County Register. Actually, I worked for the LA Times and the Orange County Register. I also worked for the Daily Titan. But I also wanted to let people know the importance of libraries. I know this is hyper specific, and I bring this up because in Huntington Beach. There's a ballot coming up in a couple of months or a couple of weeks about the library. And outside of Captain Winks, I don't know who else is listening from Huntington Beach. All I'm going to say is go educate yourself on the issue and vote. For everybody else who listens in from Chicago and Denver and all the other places, all the great fans, please understand how important libraries are. This has now become a forefront issue for me. One of the things when I was starting, this is how long ago it took me to start. I didn't have internet access in my home when I was starting my career, and I would go to the library just to use the internet and realize still to this day that people's access to the internet is from the library. Printing. I used to print out my resume. We used to have to physically mail resumes to people. And Greg, I know you've been working through, working your way up. And like, I used to go to the library and print out resumes and send out, and use it for print services. All the stat sheets I used to go to. I used to make a little stat sheet to go cover a survey. I didn't get to cover the Survey football game. Who am I kidding? Bolsa Grande High School versus La Quinta. I would print that stuff out at the library. And if I needed to use the internet, again, to look up something. So the library is very important. So in your community, just make sure your library is being taken care of. And if you're in Huntington Beach, inform yourself on the issue. vote and make an informed choice. And I'm sorry, that's all I will say about that.
No, it's fine. I have both my parents were teachers, school teachers for 40 years. So that's a very good message there. I wholeheartedly agree. Even if when I was in the library, I was running around or looking for movies. There was also movies in the library.
Yeah.
They had books, but I was always in the movie section. But do want to give a shout out. I do see in the chat, DB Gaming. He said, tell Braggs his FedEx delivery guy, 11-6, bear down. Just 5 minutes before the show starts, FedEx truck's outside. Go outside. Dion's walking up with his box here ready to bring on the porch. And he's like, Braggs? Then we talked Bears for like 15 minutes. Couldn't have been nicer. That's my FedEx guy. He's running routes. He's got he's in my jurisdiction. So now he's got a friend here in the neighborhood that can hook him up with waters and food anytime he needs it.
Very good. And Lucas, I see you weigh again on the libraries as well. Thank you for that as well. Just a little PSA, not trying to get too soapboxy, but you know me. It's important. But in any event, thank you so much for being here, Braggs. Thank you. Hopefully we'll see you next week. If we don't, we'll break down the Bears schedule at some point. And but there's a lot of good stuff, and we're going to try to check in from Bears rookie mini camp as well with some of the people who will be there. So keep an eye out. And of course, CHGO will have coverage of it. Make sure you're checking it out. You'll have some people in the building there as well. So there it is. Thank you so much.
Yeah, bear down.
All right, Sammy, go ahead and play us out and bear down.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.